Hello everybody, this is Adam from Pack Guys. I hope you're doing well. As I'm coming to you tonight, we're within a month of the 2019 All-Star Game. So I thought it might be fun to look back at some of the All-Stars from previous years, and in particular those guys who made the Midsummer Classic memorable, or at least who made the Midsummer Classic during my childhood in the 1980s and maybe into the 1990s. And of course, I thought we would do this through baseball cards. So I have here a stack of 1986 Donruss Action All-Stars. So these were kind of parallels to the base sets, and they're pretty big cards. And I thought we would dig in with maybe one of the more obscure players. It wasn't obscure, but one of the less superstar players to be an all-star during this period, Gedman. He certainly fits that bill. He was a star for the Boston Red Sox, star catcher. Made the all-star team a couple of times, but not a Hall of Famer, and not really in that kind of conversation. This 86 Donruss card of him is somewhat poignant because it came at a period when he was kind of at his peak, but also right as Gedman was getting ready to kind of hit that downward slide. So before we talk about that, we can look at the card a little bit. The back is pretty nice. Now some of these cards from like in 83 and 84, maybe in 85, they had full color images on the back of the card too, and that was pretty cool. In 86, they went with just some career highlights and all-star game stats. So Gedman at this point had just one appearance in 85 with one at bat. He did make 4 putouts, but he did not have any hits. Still a good-looking action card. So Gedman is interesting because he made, in a lot of ways, but for one reason, because he made his debut in the majors at 20 years of age in September of 1980 as a pinch hitter for Carl Yastrzemski. And then in 81, after Carlton Fisk kind of had that famous bitter dispute and divorce with the Red Sox and went to the White Sox, Gedman pretty much stepped into the starting catcher position. He did share some of the catching duties with Gary Allenson that year, but he played pretty well and ended up as the Sporting News Rookie of the Year. However, he finished second in the writers' balloting for AL Rookie of the Year to Yankees reliever Dave Righetti. By 1985, he was an all-star, as you saw here. But then in 86, things kind of really went well for him and the Red Sox. Of course, the Red Sox won the American League East before defeating the California Angels in very dramatic style with some heroics from Dave Henderson in the ALCS. But before that, in April, Gedman was behind the plate when Roger Clemens struck out 20 Seattle Mariners to set the record. And so Gedman's 20 putouts also set the American League record for catchers at that point. And then a day or two later, I think it was a day later, he had 16 more putouts. So he has 36 in 2 consecutive games, which is the major league record. Let's see, he made it to the All-Star game again in 86. And then, of course, made it to the 86 World Series with the Red Sox. So the Red Sox, you probably remember, were down to 1 out away from winning in Game 6 when that Mookie Wilson grounder went through Bill Buckner's legs. But before that, with 2 outs and a runner on third, Gedman threw a pitch, and Gedman missed it. So I think it was scored a wild pitch, but Gedman kind of took some of the heat for that. And Kevin Mitchell scored to tie the game, which set up the whole Bill Buckner, Mookie Wilson scenario. From there, Gedman was part of the collusion class, and then kind of went downhill. But for a little bit there in the 80s, he was an all-star, and we see that here on this 86 Donruss Action All-Star card. So next time around, we'll look at another 80s all-star, and then more from there. If you like this video, please hit like and consider subscribing, and please visit me at waxpackgods.com. Thanks a lot.